the perfection of utopia and the hopeless fear of dystopia. But where does the line truly lie between the two? Is utopia even possible, or will it always turn into a dystopia in the end? Thomas More's Utopia was the first literary manifestation of such a vision in the 16th century. The island of nowhere where everything is regulated, everyone knows their place, and life flows in a perfect order. On closer inspection, the sterile order becomes monotonous and impersonal. In such a world, the individual dissolves into the service of collective goals. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World deepens this image. Happiness is artificial, consumption is endless, and entertainment hollow. While seemingly utopian, for the human soul it is barren and cold. On the opposite end stands George Orwell's 1984. People live in ignorance, thoughts are crimes, and Big Brother's ever-watchful eye never rests. Here there is no illusion of perfection, or perhaps there is. Even in this world, there are those who believe. Parsons, the loyal servant of the system, lives happily within this terrifying world. From his perspective, is this a dystopia or a utopia? Perhaps the answer is just a matter of perspective. At this point, we might make the half-correct assumption that the only difference between utopia and dystopia is simply perspective. However, what we call dystopia changed over time. In older dystopian novels, one of the defining features of dystopia was the unchangeable nature of the story's world. No matter what the characters do, nothing changes. The system is unbeatable and everlasting. However, modern dystopias such as Susan Collins's The Hunger Games bring new shades to the genre. Revolution, rebellion, and the recognition of personal responsibility become central themes. Katniss Everdeen realizes at the end that the key to change lies not merely in toppling leaders, but in individual choices and accountability. Most importantly though, these stories provide characters with the possibility of change. The boundary between utopias and dystopias often blurs. The complexity of human nature ensures that even the most seemingly perfect world can become suffocating, and even the most hopeless system may provide peace for some. Perhaps the question of justice is what brings us closer to the answer. A world can be considered utopian not if it strives for perfection, but if it pursues truth and humanity. Utopia shouldn't revolve around one set of beliefs. Totalizing ideals, as most dystopian or anti-utopian literature argues, is not the way of progress. But then, what is? I mean, for dystopia, it creates a perfect setting, but for any kind of utopia, it is not suitable. Sacrificing humanity will never be utopian, so then how can we proceed to produce a utopia? A good place? What is even a utopia? A world where everyone is forced into uniformity in the name of peace or prosperity quickly becomes cold and lifeless. Utopia, if it is to be more than an illusion, must allow for differences, imperfection and growth. So then how can we proceed to produce a utopia, a truly good place? Utopia may not be a static destination, but a dynamic balance, forever adapting, forever incomplete. But this goes against the idea that utopia should be perfect. While we often talk about utopia as the perfect world, it really isn't necessary. Utopia is meant to be a good place, not a perfect place. A good place is not necessarily perfect. Isaiah Berlin introduced the concept of positive and negative liberty. In simplified terms, positive liberty means the freedom to do anything, while negative liberty means freedom from externalities. Combining the two leads us to the simple conclusion that we are free to do anything if it doesn't limit anyone else's freedom. Karl Marx brought us the concept what Cyril Smith refers to as universal human emancipation, so that in principle there can be neither a blueprint for freedom nor a doctrine of freedom. The ultimate goal would be to strip away all limitations and obstacles, both internal and external. This has been suggested by many authors and philosophers alike throughout history, either implicitly or explicitly. What we think of utopia is usually a world without challenges, But that is not a good world. What matters is what kind of challenges we face. A struggle to write the best novel is not the same struggle as fighting for food. In this sense, utopia isn't as complicated as we might think, but it is still almost impossible to achieve it. There is also the problem that our ideals change. What seems utopistic today might seem normal the next day. There were times when people thought of a world where everybody has basic human rights would be a utopia. And yet, here we are today and it doesn't seem to be a utopia. What is certain is that utopia is neither planned nor structured. We can only have the vague conclusion that we will know when we will live in a utopia, whenever it might be. What is also certain that no matter what idealistic place we plan, it will always be someone else's dystopia.